From the combined newsrooms in Eugene, Roseburg, and Coos Bay, KVAL News at 6 starts now.
Dozens of protesters gathered this morning blocking Interstate 5. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kamerman.
And I'm Kendall Bartley. Those protesters were from Free Palestine Eugene. Now, the southbound lanes of I-5 near the I-105 interchange were shut down for almost 2 hours, backing up traffic for miles. And we have team coverage tonight. Tiffany Lewis is standing by at the Lane County Jail.
And Jodi Unruh is live on Harlow Road looking over I-5. Jodi?
Well, things are calm out here right now, but that wasn't the case earlier today, except for a couple remnants left behind. But this pathway right behind me, more than 50 protesters ran down that today, took over this stretch of I-5 behind me before multiple agencies, including the SWAT team, came to break things up. Chanting, locking arms in solidarity with gas masks, and signs while waving the Palestine flag. More than 50 protesters from Free Palestine Eugene took over the southbound lanes of I-5 just south of Beltline. It was all part of an international movement the group says was to shut down the global economy on tax day for Palestinian liberation. Authorities say the group used several vehicles to block the freeway before bringing down dozens of protesters onto the freeway from Harlow Road Bridge. Chaos for travelers as authorities shut down Beltline in the long stretch of I-5 right before the I-105 interchange. Multiple agencies, including the SWAT team with Oregon State Police, stand by watching the protesters, but then move in.
We're here in solidarity with today's international movement to shut down. Right now. We're shutting down the economy because the government won't do it.
This protester gets arrested in the middle of an interview with us. The group then moves forward with locked arms as police continue arresting people. Signs are strewn along the edge of the highway as a fenced area behind the freeway barricade turns into a makeshift detention area where authorities start arresting dozens of protesters. The nearby street off the bike path is lined with law enforcement vehicles taking the protesters to jail. Authorities say most facing disorderly conduct charges. Almost 2 hours later, the first car starts slowly moving in, with authorities directing traffic, while authorities continue to arrest the suspects along the side of the road. Well, we now know that 52 people were arrested and taken to the Lane County Jail, and that's where reporter Tiffany Lewis is standing by with more details. Tiffany.
Supporters are waiting for protesters to be released, and 52 people were arrested and are now held in custody. 6 cars were towed and are at the impound right now. I spoke to one of today's protesters who explained why they blocked off I-5. They said it was important for them to disrupt America's economy and the U.S.'s continual aid to Israel.
We decided that we have to show people that we need to fight and participate in a global liberation movement for Free Palestine.
Again, we're waiting outside of the Lane County Jail where people are expected to make bail shortly and be released. And community members on social media are raising bail funds at Eugene Bail Fund on Venmo. And I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, thank you so much for the report, both Jodi and Tiffany. And this protest was one of many happening globally, all part of an event called A-15.
Coast-to-coast protesters have been reported in various areas around the country, much of it organized on social media, all part of A-15, a multi-city blockade. That's what they're calling it.
And now we're taking a live look in Seattle, a protest wrapping up with just 20 minutes ago. They were towing cars away. This was right outside of SeaTac, the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport standoff, was similar to what we saw just hours earlier in Eugene. It seems like they now have that clear.
But like we said, all over the country earlier today, O'Hare Airport in Chicago, this is video from earlier, just like in Eugene, you see how backed up the traffic got. Access to the airport was blocked for hours.
And from Chicago, we go out to New York. 2 protesters, one on Wall Street in Manhattan, people standing there blocking the roadway. There was also one on the Brooklyn Bridge, which stopped traffic.
Not the only bridge affected. The Golden Gate Bridge, protesters shut down the southbound lanes. The protesters were also present on Interstate 880 in Oakland, chaining themselves to concrete-filled barrels. That one on the Golden Gate Bridge lasted quite a long time. Now, according to A15action.com, the aim of the movement is to cause, quote, the most economic impact. And we heard that when Tiffany spoke to one of our local protesters, the same sort of sentiment from them. We'll continue to monitor the ongoing situation around the country.
And this was all occurring while we were off the air, but we covered the protest all morning on our social media accounts. That's a great way to stay up to date. This is actually Jodi Unruh live on our Facebook page while it was happening.
And we were posting on Instagram as well, capturing photos of the incident and video from the incident just as it was happening. So as people were maybe heading out onto the highway and saw that there was something backed up, they could have found out pretty quickly from checking our social media accounts what was going on. So make sure to scan that QR code you see on your screen. Follow us and stay up to date with what's happening even when we're off the air.